Rahim.
Johnny's Vice.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over, and surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. It's Tuesday. Welcome to Johnny's Bite. Today is the 5th of March, 2024. Tomorrow will be the 6th of March, Ghana's Independence Day. And we will talk about independence in a bit. But my understanding is that all the children today will do their Independence Day, parades at school and on all the individual stuff that they have to do. They wear their African print and their beautiful Ghanaian clothing because their schools are interested in inculcating into them the tenets of our national pride and culture and tradition. So kudos to all the schools who are doing that this morning. I also want to say deepest condolences to Sona Fashion's Amadou Shirazu in Tamale Kuko. Today, I'm told that you lost your father, and we pray that may God himself receive his soul and also be comforted in these trying times along with your family. But tomorrow will be Independence Day. Show me the photo of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his colleagues. But first, play the majority leader's video for me. And I want that to be a reminder every single morning. Before you take a contract, listen.
Johnny's
So,
Bite.
as MPs, as ministers, as government officials, what it is for us is that we must start base. That is why I said your critique, the Johnny Hughes, his this bite is good for us. Because if people will listen in government, that then you begin to set up what is really the case. Because it's not who you think you are as a leader, but what they think you are. So if the people think that you are not doing it right, your job is to situate it right and get it right. So as MPs.
So this is what the majority leader and MP for Futu thinks. Please listen, because we say the truth here without insults. Please listen, because we point you to the places where your eyes may not have been. Please listen, because we will not sing the unnecessary praise that is sung to you every morning in the updates. Please listen, because we are trying to build a nation together. Please listen without prejudice. Please listen, because it is important for all of our sakes. Thank you. Now, tomorrow will be our Independence Day. Show me the photo of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and his colleagues when they declared independence on the 6th of March, 1957. At the old polo grounds. Now, you would see the kind of passion and the energy and the emotions that flowed. If you watch the video, Osajifo himself wept. He wept not because he was sad. He wept because he was happy that at long last the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, our beloved country, is free forever. Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he wept not because he was sad, but he wept because at long last the battle has ended, and thus Ghana, a beloved country, is free forever. And then he also mentioned that the black man is capable of handling his own affairs. The black man is indeed capable of handling his own affairs. For two solid years, I've told you about Gihok. Gihok is a baby of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Gihok, it is a baby of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. I have told you how SNIT had taken Gihok to court. I told you how insurance company had taken Gihok to court. I told you how, in fact, suppliers had been up in arms, come to carry their ethanol for production. I told you how the factory was shut down. I told you how production had dipped. I told you how the numbers had been ballooned, the number of staff had been ballooned. I told you how their profits had dropped. And now I'm going to tell you that the account of Gihok had been garnished. The account of Gihok is being garnished such that the salaries have not been paid. Very unusual. And it's been done because one of the suppliers had taken the company to court. In future, I will show you, an invoice. And then we will ask whether or not the invoice meets the requirement of what the Ghana Revenue Authority demands, the industry specifications and the requirements and the prerequisites. But what I can tell you this morning, and I'll just do a bit of touch and go, because GEOC, as we speak, their workers have not been paid. Now, distributors and salespeople have been asked to make payments onto a Momo account. I'll share that with you. So the court has said that, GEOC, we have frozen your account. We want to pay money to so and so person. And I've spoken about this, but the president won't listen. A minister for state-owned enterprises won't listen. The boss at SIGA won't listen. When you talk, they go and pass around and then they come back. The minister for trade and industry won't listen. And the place is being run down. Are we running it down so that we will trade it off and sell it off to family and friends? I am concerned. I am worried. If you go into the various pubs and bars these days, you will see, for example, forgive me, FDA, the Castle Bridge. The bottle you find is not a new bottle. That bottle is supposed to be their premium production bottle for exports. Those were the bottles I showed you that had been exposed onto the sun and the rain, bought with your taxpayers' monies. Today, we are producing with them locally, because if you had used those bottles to produce for exports, nobody would have bought them there. They would have all been rejected. But we are watching, because the president's in-law is at post. The chief of staff's brother is at post. That is how we are running things down. And that is why we will say that we are independent, but indeed we are in perpetual slavery. And speaking of independence, I always ask the question, why do we begin telling our story of history, or our history from the time when the white man came? Check our history books. Our history books are always interested in starting our historical perspective, our historical story and analysis from when the white man came. So the question I want to ask on this eve of Independence Day is, were we not living and surviving and having our own story and history before the white man came? Were we not? We were living and surviving and living our history and our reality before the white man came. But check our history books, even the ones approved by NACA. Even the one approved by NACA. Then you learn in parliament that, yes, we are independent. We are 67 years. But the Minister for Education, we spent 68 million Ghana cedis to go and photocopy past questions. PASCO, to give to students at free SHS. When we were in secondary school, we used to go and buy our own PASCO, whether it's Akiola, Pogba, whichever one it is. Today, we have institutionalized it such we are spending 68 million cedis. 68 million cedis to print PASCO. 68 million cedis to print PASCO. And the 68 million cedis that we're spending to print PASCO, there's a video. Show me the students, the school children on their stomachs, learning on their stomachs. I was recently part of a fundraiser to buy desks for schools. The same scenario that Dr. Baumia saw in opposition and rushed to go and buy chairs for people. You remember that? Today he is in power, along with all those people who supported and went with him. Children are lying on their bellies, and instead of buying them desks, we are using 68 million Ghana cedis of the taxpayers' money to do photocopy. Now, the fundraiser for which I was part sold one chair, one dual desk for 230 Ghana cedis. So if your math is not as good as mine, and you even decide that you had 68 million cedis, and you do the calculation, you will see that you would have been able to buy at least about 300,000 of those desks for those students. 300,000 of those desks for those students. And the painful part is that the past questions that were printed were so sourced. Contrary to what the PPA section 40 says, contrary to that, we also did not get approval from the PPA board we got our advice from WAEC and GES. I shall protect the public purse is breaking every law. Now, even more, find the GES video for me. The children learning on their stomach. Just show it while I speak. Even more worrying is the fact that every morning when we wake up, we are told, we have digitalized this, we have digitalized that, we have digitalized this, we have digitalized that. That's good to digitalize. In this age of digitalization, when we have failed to provide teachers with the syllabus and the handbook in hard copy, and we have told them that they can go and download. Just show the video of the children on their bellies. Just pause it when you get there. We told teachers that they would have to go and download their syllabus and their what do you call it, their curriculum, whatever it is that they need to learn, and teach the children. But then when it gets to the children, because somebody will chop, we have decided that we're going to do single source without approval from the board of the PPA, but with advice from WAEC and GES. So if we have really digitalized, wouldn't it have been wise to have uploaded these past questions onto the internet, say the Ghana Education Services own website, or if you like, WAEC's own website, whatever it is, whichever website it is, so that the students can quickly download and have it, because we are moving towards digitalization. Okay, on my Jotadon on my iPad. Apologies to Tiny. It's a big question. I said if you do a calculation, 68 million cedis would have given you 300,000 decks to have stopped these children from sitting on the floor to learn. The children are sitting on the floor to learn. Pause. When you get a pause, look at them. They are sitting on the floor to learn. 40% of our students don't have desks to sit on in the whole country. 40%, according to Chris's report. So which is much more important? The desks or the past questions which could have been uploaded? Where's the digitalization? Call him, bring him forward. It's a big problem. Are we really independent, and are we happy that at 67 we have children still lying on their bellies, sitting on the floor, some using cement blocks as desks to write and learn? But I don't blame them. Their children are not in the country. They are not part of the set of children, the MPs, the minister. Their children are not part of this mix. Oh. Their children are learning outside. Some of them, they actually have their families living outside. They only run to them and come and sit on TV, radio, talk, You don't find them. Sometimes when you don't see them like 2-3 months, ask where they are. They'll tell you they have gone back to their families. Are we independent? Show me the president's response on the LGBTQIA plus GPRT of TUC. While you look for it, look at the front page of the business analyst. Transport fares to go up by 30% effective March 7. Transport fares to go up by 30% effective March 7. This, you see here, the transport fares that will go up, it will only affect NDC people. It will only affect journalists who are speaking up. It will only affect civil society organizations who are speaking up. It will not affect MPP people and people who are supporters of the government. It will not affect them. You see those people who defend everything, even when the thing is so bad, this 30% increment that will happen on the 7th, and those who use their own cars, the fuel pricing, it will not affect them. All you need to do is to show your party card to the driver's mate that me a party ni. Nobody will charge you the extra. All you need to do when you go and buy fuel is to show your party card at the filling station, and it will not affect you. So this 30% is for people who are speaking up, people who are asking critical questions, people who are called naysayers, people who are called, Sambalat and Tobias by the government. Pull up the president's
Johnnie's
response.
Bite.
There's the LGBTQ bill, the proper human sexual relations or sexual rights and family values bill that has been passed by Parliament. This is what the president says. He says, I am aware that last week's bipartisan passage by Parliament of the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values bill on a private member's motion has raised considerable anxieties in certain quarters of the diplomatic community and among some friends of Ghana that she may be turning her back on her hitherto enviable, long-standing record on human rights observance and attachment to the rule of law. I want to assure you that no such backsliding will be contemplated or occasioned. I think it will serve little purpose to go at this stage into the details of the origin of this proposed law, which is yet to reach my desk. But suffice it to say that I have learned today a challenge has been mounted at the Supreme Court by a concerned citizen to the constitutionality of the proposed legislation. In the circumstances, it would be as well for all of us to hold our hands and wait the decision of the court before any action is taken. The operation of the institutions of the Ghanaian state will determine the future trajectory of the rule of law and human rights compliance in our country. President Akufo-Addo, 4th March, diplomatic New Year greetings with members of the diplomatic corps. This is what the president had to say. So then the first question that the streets are asking, and some of us, we represent the streets, they're asking, Mr. President, did you know that when you hurriedly signed the e-levy, did you know that when you hurriedly signed the e-levy, there was somebody in court, 3 members of the minority in court, challenging the e-levy. But you went ahead, and in just 2 days after it was hurriedly passed, you signed it. I say hurriedly passed because we were told that the e-levy would have town hall meetings, and these town hall meetings were even after we had complained and said that you have not consulted us. Why are you dipping your hands into our Momo wallets? Why are you pickpocketing us in our Momo wallets? We asked that question, and then you said, oh, you come and explain to us. It was at those e-levy meetings and all those e-levy campaign messages that you told us that we will not go to the IMF. Shamefully, we are the IMF. We were called names. Nobody has had the decency and dignity to apologize. Not even you, respectfully, Mr. President. Respectfully, not even you, Mr. President. Nobody. Nobody. Now, we are here knowing that there's a precedent that when you got to e-levy, you knew that the matter was in court, but you signed. When you got to LGBT, first, your finance minister designate comes to tell us that we're going to lose some 3.5 billion. And if you look at all the things that were mentioned in there, really, if we had been responsible and disciplined enough, we won't be beggars, because now we are thinking even of the protection of our family values and human rights like beggars. Was it Jacob and Esau who sold his right to his brother for a bowl of beans? That's how we are behaving. We are behaving like the man Esau who sold his right to his brother for a bowl of beans. Mr. President, you told us that we'll have a Ghana beyond aid. You told us to stop begging and borrowing. You stood by Mr. Macron. You stood by Mr. Macron and told him to his face that those days when we used to cattle will be a thing of the past. In Tiabane, say, Mr. President. And now it is bound to happen. And while we are at it, Mr. President says he is going. The next leader will fix it. The next leader would either be Dr. Baumia, will either be John Mahama, will either be Alan Tremantin, or anybody else. John Mahama says, I don't subscribe to LGBTQ because of my faith. I attend Assemblies of God. Dr. Baumia has told us that he used to be a member of the Boys Brigade. And in the Boys Brigade, as a former Boys Brigade boy myself, I know that BB, we are sure and steadfast like the anchor. Nothing moves us. We are sure and steadfast like the anchor. Nothing moves us. Dr. Baumia is also a Muslim. Or should we consider that the president said because the buck stops with him, we should take his answer to mean that is what Dr. Baumia also thinks? What is Dr. Baumia's personal view on this LGBTQ matter? The world is watching. Is the president gauging the mood of the country? Is he really gauging the mood of society? Is he gauging the mood of society? Mr. President, there's a precedence that you had. There was a matter in court. You signed. If you go on social media, you will hear what people are saying. People are doubtful that you will ever assent this bill. This was a bipartisan agreement in Parliament. with a speaker who has been sure and steadfast. Lawyer Moses Fuamoni says, he's the executive director of the group. He says, look, we are waiting for Professor Odegajipo and the rest in court. Let them do their thing. But Mr. President, your duty to us when you took that oath is to protect the sovereignty of the Republic of Ghana. That's what the people are asking. They say, look, Mr. President, where is our sovereignty? Do you honestly think that if we had listened to the German ambassador, when we went to beg so that they would put in a word for us so that we'll get the IMF and the World Bank supporting us as they currently are doing, if we had listened to him when he said that, cut down on the size of your government, we will go and be shaking and begging and be afraid that we'll lose $3.5 billion. We are so wasteful. And Mr. President, it is not a nice thing for your contemporaries and your age mate to say that you are a stubborn person. It's not a nice thing. I'm a young man, I can't say that. But your friends, your contemporaries, that's what they say. That's what they say. Cut down the size of your government. No. Reduce the size of your government so that we can save money. No. Pull up CDD's H. Kwesi Prempeh for me, because Professor Odegajipo is the board chairman of the CDD. Sam George has been saying that, well, because they get funding from some of these foreign, institutions and agencies, they would have to defend at all costs. Here's what H. Kwesi Prempeh says. He says, I support this 100%. A human sexual rights and values levy to be imposed on all religious organizations to make up for any fiscal shortfalls in Government of Ghana receipts flowing from passage of the Anti-LGBTQ bill. Talk is cheap. That is what the prof says. And then somebody said on social media
Johnnie's
that, Prof, Anna E-levy cry Tiana LGBT levy. E-levy cry Tiana. COVID levy. COVID has finished. COVID has ended. The WHO has, no country in the world takes COVID levy. We are the only ones who take COVID levy. Even that one we pay. Even that we pay. So that's what the street is asking. Are we truly, really independent? Or we just are interested in borrow? Mr. President, the people are looking at you and people say that, look, if you sign this, it will perhaps be the master stroke of the legacy you have been looking for, which you are not finding. This will speak to, some political and electoral gain for you and your party. Maybe you are not interested in how well the MPP stands. Because if you listen to some of your MPP members, almost say, "Who good party?" They say it all the time. Maybe they will not say it in your presence. And maybe because they are too blue-blooded. But they say it all the time, Mr. President. This is when the people expect you to stand and live the oath that you swore to preserve and protect the Constitution and the sovereignty of the Republic of Ghana. As we celebrate independence, there's one fact that I want to share with you. I've been reading copiously some stuff about the late military leader Ignatius Kutuwe Champong. Did you know that it was only General Champong, of all the leaders that we have had, from Nkrumah down to everybody else, who never went to the IMF? Did you know? Did you know that it was under General Champong that we exported food in big tons? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know that it was under General Nkrumah that we had Operation Feed Yourself? Is that the same as Planting for Food and Jobs these days? Operation Feed Your Industry, is that the same as one district, one factory? Did you know? He is the only president who has that record. What did he do? Can we go back and learn instead of bastardizing him? I don't know. But Mr. President, at this material time, the people of Ghana say the best gift you can give to them, if you really are interested in preserving the culture and the values and all the things that the Ghanaians are asking for, you would sign the bill. Don't give people the chance to second guess you, Mr. President, and to assume that you are not your own man, because we have become so vulnerable and so borrow-laden or so debt-laden that really we can't fend for ourselves, because we are beginning to become an embarrassment. Within the West African sub-region, we are the beacon of hope. Almost everybody around us has turmoil. They are looking at our example. Mr. President, what example are we showing? Do you still really believe in your Ghana beyond aid? I leave it for you, Mr. President. Have a good morning.